And joining us today to discuss this issue and other matters, we have Mamamayang Liberal Party Representative Leila de Lima. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Congresswoman.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen, and thank you for having me in your program, Morning Matters. And good morning also to the viewers and listeners.
Okay, let's begin with first the story before this interview. Can you elaborate on your concerns regarding Commissioner Mario Lipana of the Commission on Audit and his wife's company, Olympus Mining and Builders Group Philippines Corporation? Help us understand how deep this conflict of interest goes and how it could influence the investigation.
Actually, Gretchen, nung nasa hearing nights, the budget hearing for COA, the COA budget, two of my colleagues raised that issue before my turn to interpellate. So these are Congressman Elijah San Fernando and Congressman Tino. So they raised that. They mentioned about Commissioner Lipana's wife being actually a contractor or an officer of a construction company. So I followed through their line of questioning and I said that, to me, this is clearly impeachable because there is a clear case of conflict of interest. Hindi lang nga ito a case of potential conflict of interest, but it's real conflict of interest. Kasi nga, di ba, your COA is supposed to be, looking into the regularity, looking into how public funds are used. And now in the middle of all this, a lot of revelations are coming out about corruption involving contractors, officials and employees of DPWH, and even lawmakers. So how can we expect a COA commissioner to truly be able to fulfill his mandate if he is related to a contractor or an official of the contractor? So I practically pleaded to the COA chairperson that he better talk first to the commissioner concerned, Commissioner Lipana, because I understand he is on medical leave. So sabi ko, sana kausapin nyo pagbalik. Kasi of course, we cannot force him to resign. Because if he has any delicadeza, he should have resigned by now. But we have not seen that yet. So, kung hindi makakausap o makukumbinsi na mag-resign, because resignation is a personal decision, it's a voluntary act, then we have no choice, Congress, especially the House of Representatives, who has the sole and exclusive power to initiate impeachment proceedings against impeachable officials, which include a COA commissioner.
Okay. In the event that the COA commissioner does resign, isn't that also sort of giving him a way out? Ayun nga po yung isang kritisismo ng ilan na parang nagre-resign na lang, tinatanggal na lang, but the accountability is the factor that's missing here. If ever he does resign, is impeachment out of the options already?
No, impeachment will still proceed. I'm sorry. So you're talking about resignation.
Opo, kung umalis na, wala na.
Yes, it
kasi,
doesn't mean,
kumbaga,
it doesn't
na
mean,
siya. Oo.
Correct. Hindi ho ibig sabihin yan, hindi na siya pwedeng kasuhan. Ang maapektuhan lang po ng resignation ay hindi na po siya maaalis, hindi na siya ma-remove dahil nga nag-resign na. He cannot be removed from office anymore because nag-resign na. So hindi na pwedeng impeachment because nga the sole objective of impeachment is to remove impeachable officials na based on valid grounds. But it doesn't mean that no other cases can be filed against him. There will be still cases, especially criminal cases, and also, criminal cases with respect to the criminal aspect of violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Law.
Am I correct in my understanding that the COA commissioner is an appointee of the president, and he can also so choose to remove him from this position?
An impeachable official can only be removed by impeachment. So it's a special set. It's a special set of officials. The president, the vice president, members of the Supreme Court. So just the Supreme Court, hindi yung mga other judges of lower courts, and then constitutional bodies and the ombudsman. So constitutional bodies would include, there are three constitutional commissions, COA, COMELEC, and the Civil Service Commission. So there is a special class of high officials that the Constitution says that they can only be removed through the process of impeachment. So kahit nga ma-remove sila, halimbawa, tuloy ang impeachment because he has not resigned, tuloy ang impeachment, and is found guilty. And therefore, the consequence, the only consequence is that he will be removed from office. But other liabilities will continue. Civil liability, criminal liability will continue. It does not extend to, kasi parang the reason why there are sets of high officials that may be removed only through impeachment, kasi nga because of the nature of their position. It would be difficult na every now and then they will be subjected to all sorts of cases, all sorts of threats for removal or for filing for removal. No, so kailangan it's through the impeachment proceedings, which is now a combination of both legal and political process. And it starts with the House of Representatives.
Okay, we've been looking at the DPWH lately, and also these contractors. But in terms of investigating COA, do you think we'd be able to open a can of worms looking in this direction? And saan po kaya maganda magsimula in terms of investigating them if the commissioner is on medical leave? Ano? Kasi sa DPWH, si Vince Dizon po ang inatasan na mag-cleansing, internal cleansing. Pero dito po sa COA, how do you imagine that could go?
Well, it really depends on the COA leadership. It depends on the COA chairperson, that they can do it, they can do their own internal investigation. But unfortunately, nung sa questioning nga nila Congressmen San Fernando and Tino, it looks like COA has not done anything about that. And sabi nila, they just learned about this conflict of interest sa media. And then after that, anong ginawa? Nothing. So I even asked them, did you talk already to the commissioner? Hindi pa daw. So why? I mean, they cannot, meron din own act of misfeasance or malfeasance on the part of the COA leadership, that they know that there is a real and serious issue involving their co-commissioner, and yet they're not doing anything, whether internal or any other remedy. So while ideally COA on its own can already initiate its own inquiry into the matter, validate everything about the status of the commissioner and also of his wife in relation to the construction company, and recommend his removal or vote or recommend for his removal. But of course they cannot do it because it's the commissioner is an impeachable official. But they can always refer the matter either to the ombudsman and even to the House of Representatives in initiating an impeachment complaint.
But is the House looking to subpoena the COA commissioner? And
not yet at this point.
Okay.
I actually just floated the idea that if nothing happens, if the commissioner would stay in his office despite this clear case of conflict of interest, then what I said yesterday in the hearing is that the House would have no choice anymore but to initiate impeachment proceedings. One of us or several of us can always initiate an impeachment proceedings.
Okay. Speaking of conflicts of interest, no, there's another one that has been brought to light, and that is the connection of former DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan with Global Crete Company Corporation with MBP Corporation that is owned by his own daughter. Sa palagay po ninyo, pareho po itong itong kaso na to, yung kay COA Commissioner pati kay DPWH Secretary Bonoan. Sabi po ni Vince Dizon, wala pong direct connection si Secretary Bonoan. Pero anak po niya eh. Paano po yun?
Oo nga, and then yung disclosure also of interest or possible conflict of interest has the former Public Works Secretary did it, disclosing that he has a relative, a daughter. So these are more than ethical issues or issues of ethics, and this has something to do really with this whole problem. Kasi nga nakikita na natin yung the hugeness, the gravity, and the magnitude of all this. So interlinkage between DPWH officials, contractors, and also lawmakers. So that would be subject of the investigation. That should be covered also by the EO-created independent commission, EO 94. Now, if both the Senate and the House will not stop in their own investigations, that can also be covered. But with respect to that, talking about that, talaga po namang lalong tumitindi, lalong lumalakas ang posisyon, ang argumento na dapat ipaubaya na lang ng Congress, both Senate and the House of Representatives, yung pag-iimbestiga dyan sa mga anomalya na yan tungkol sa mga infrastructure projects, especially flood control projects. So, yun ang aking palagi ko po sinasabi. As you know, from day one, kinontra ko na kaagad yung pagtatayo ng infracom dito sa House. And then, lumabas nga mga pangalan ng mga miyembro ng House of Representatives. Meron din mga lumabas na pangalan ng 2 senador. Yung reveal nung former Assistant District Engineer Brice Hernandez. So, both houses of Congress are should be also under scrutiny. And you cannot expect the Senate and the House of Representatives to really, truly, independently, and seriously look into the possible involvement of their own peers,
correct,
their own members. Only an independent body.
Taking a look at the PCIJ report, there appears to be 5 vice chairmen out of 20 of the Infracom linked to contractors. Kamusta po yung request ni Congressman Shell Jokno dun nga po sa disclosure of conflicts of interest? How did that turn out?
Okay, during the last hearing, September 9, yes, during this, and that is the second hearing of Infracom. Because in the first hearing, Congressman Shell Jokno moved for the disclosure of financial interest, if any, of all the members of the Infracom. Now, during the second hearing in September 9, most of the members of the Infracom submitted the certification. And I understand that all of those who submitted say that they have no financial interest whatsoever or business interest in the subject matter of the investigation. I just don't know. I don't have the names or I don't have the number as to who or how many among the members of the Infracom yung hindi nakapag-submit that kind of certification or a disclosure.
Correct.
If they have such financial
who would
interest.
have the information po? Who would have the information?
It should be the secretariat of the Infracom. They should have the information, and I will also try to find out about that. Yes.
Okay. Congresswoman, what do you make of this debate in the Senate over custody of Brice Hernandez? Matagal pong debate yun, pero ultimately he ended up in the Pasay City Jail. What are your thoughts on that?
Para sa akin, hindi po tama yon na napag-agrihan na po ng Senate leadership and House leadership na doon na lang sa PNP Custodial Center In fact, that was really a good compromise. Okay, ano yung background? Itong si Brice, si Assistant District Engineer Brice, na-contempt na siya dun sa Senado. Pero pinahiram siya sa House of Representatives kasi sinomon din siya ng Infracom. And then, nung araw na yon, ng September 9, nung nag-testify siya, bago pa man siya mag-testify, sinabi na niya, kung pwede po, wag niyo na po akong ibalik sa Senado. So, tinanong siya kung bakit. Natatakot po kasi ako. Tapos, then, he started disclosing those things about the alleged involvement of two senators, Senator Joel Villanueva and Senator Jinggoy Estrada. So, the Infracom, the chairpersons, deemed it best to render protection dito kay Brice. And since dati na siyang naka-detain sa Senate, na-contempt siya doon, to be fair, middle ground. Kasi ano yung pinakamotibo ng House of Representatives, yung Infracom, kung bakit gusto rin siyang i-protect. Dahil nga, may mga siniwalat siya ng mga
na mabibigat
dalawang
po at
senador.
hindi po biro. Oo, yung kanyang
Hindi
mga
po biro
pangalang
yun.
ibinigay.
So natural lamang na mangangamba itong si Brice Hernandez na ibabalik siya sa Senado kasi nandun yung kanyang mga bigla na lang tinuro. No? So, it's a sort of a compromise, middle ground. Diyan na lang sa PNP Custodial Center. And it's a relatively safer place.
Correct.
Kung i-compare mo sa ordinary jail facility like the city jail. So mali po yun. And the tama, nung una ni Senate President Tito Soto, na he was also insisting out of interparliamentary courtesy, nag-usap kasi yung dalawang leaders, na ganun ang agreement, tama siya. Kaya lang, unfortunately, nung after the break, I wasn't sure if it was submitted to a vote by the plenary.
Senator, I don't mean to bring this up, but I know you had stayed at the PNP Custodial Center. What do you know of the Pasay City Jail? Marami pong nangangamba dito para sa buhay ni Brice.
Opo. Yung mga city jails kasi ordinarily or generally, unang-una, grabe ang congestion. So, pag grabe ang congestion, merong security risks. Wala ka naman, halo ka sa maraming mga detainees dyan sa city jail. So, mas vulnerable siya to harm than when sa PNP Custodial Center. PNP Custodial Center, comparatively speaking, is safer than any ordinary jail facility. Although, alam niyo naman yung nangyari sa akin noon na na-hostage ako. Pero na-hostage ako within the facility. At siguro, hindi naman siguro mangyayari na yon. Kasi nga, meron lang kasi mga security lapse on that very day, October na 2022, na ako'y na hostage. But if you compare the facilities of the PNP Custodial Center in terms of security, mas secure, masasabi ko, ang PNP Custodial Center than any ordinary facility, especially the very congested city jails. Kasi ang mga nagbabantay normally din sa PNP Custodial Center, depende sa status ng detainee, meron nga staff personnel, and also, of course, PNP officials.
Okay, so will the House be appealing this arrangement? Would you know of any talk na?
I have no knowledge as to whether the House leadership or the Infracom leadership has that intention. Pero siguro, ako mismo, I will recommend to them to further talk to the Senate leadership.
Correct.
But I think the lawyer of Hernandez can also take care of that. He has legal remedies. Itong the lawyer of Hernandez.
Okay. Before you go, I will not be remiss in asking this question. I wanted you to give your 2 cents on the document that came out last night, which was on the request for an indefinite adjournment by the defense of former President Rodrigo Duterte in the ICC. They argue that he is unfit to stand trial and that Mr. Duterte suffers from significant cognitive deficiencies that affect his memory, his daily executive functioning, his visual constructive abilities, his orientation to place and time, and limiting his capacity for complex reasoning. What are your thoughts on that, Congresswoman?
Okay, ICC as a body really has the discretion and the prerogative to grant requests like that. Now, it is of course premised on a validation or verification of the grounds put forward by the lawyer. Yung mga sinabi mong ground kanina, Gretchen. So I suppose there is a way, or there was a means and process on the part of the judges, the ICC as a body, to first validate or verify that condition as cited by the lawyer in that request. So we would not know now how factually correct yung mga sinite na grounds. But again, I don't think the ICC will grant that kung hindi muna nila nagkaroon o hindi muna nila verify yung sinasabing condition of the former president. Ang atin na lang we are just hoping now na yung indefinite suspension of the proceedings ng ICC won't take that long para masimulan na, because the confirmation of charges sa proceedings, importante po yan. Kasi dyan mag-decide ang ICC kung itutuloy pa nga yung trial. So, cognitive impairment, so that is something that is both physical and also psychological and maybe emotional, cognitive impairment. So, again, siguro naman, nagkaroon ng verification muna on the part of the ICC dyan sa sinasabing
Actually, this is
cognitive impairment.
This is a letter from the defense, no? Ito po yung kanilang request. Pero I think they gave a limited period of deferment para po ay maaral po nila yung tunay na medical condition ng dating presidente. So mukhang hindi pa po nako-confirm, but there is a neuropsychologist who did the medical examination upon the former president. Pero kung sakasakali po, I mean, how will this affect the pursuit for justice for the drug war victims? Could this, ultimately lead to this trial being cut short?
Well, depende talaga yan dyan sa health condition of the former president. Of course, on the part of the victims, the families of the victims. Siyempre, because they've been crying out for justice, matagal na nila itong inihingi. Buti nga't may ICC at hindi dito sa atin. So, siyempre, nakakapangamba rin on the part of the families kasi para sa kanila, kailangan may hustisya. Panagutin yung talagang may kagagawan. Lalo na yung pinaka-mastermind, sino nag-utos dun sa mga pagpatay na yun at alam naman natin na it's the former president. So, ang feeling ng ang feeling ng mga victims or the families of the victims, I would suppose, ay gusto talaga nila na matuloy ang trial. So, siguro, yung iba sa kanila nagdadasal na, Lord, huwag niyo na munang kunin yung dating Pangulo para harapin muna niya yung wills of justice.
Pero
Kasi,
kayo ho, kayo ho, ano pong nararamdaman po ninyo tungkol dito? I mean, kayo rin po ay isang biktima nito. At pangalawa, I guess, do you believe in the possibility that this could be the way that the president's health is heading?
There's always that possibility. We really do not know. We really do not know when his time would end in this world on Earth. So it would be God's. It's nasa ano na yan, nasa ating Panginoon kung kukunin na niya ang isang tao. Ako, I've always believed, if it's your time, it's your time. Kaya nga, sabi ko nga, siguro naman, hindi pa naman siya kukunin talaga because he has to face the wheels of justice. And then kahit mawala na siya, hindi naman po ibig sabihin mag-stop na yung ICC investigation. Kasi meron pa dyan matitira na mga lilitisin din at pwedeng litisin ng ICC. You know, there's still the former PNP chief, now senator, na alam natin na isama yan ng prosecutors dun sa charges. So,
hindi po nagtatapos
sabihin,
ito sa dating presidente.
Yes, hindi po yan magtatapos sa kanya lang kasi meron pang mga iba na mga dapat panagutin.
Okay, maraming salamat po for weighing in on with us on of course, the ICC developments and also the flood control probe. Thank you so much for your time this Friday. We have Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Leila de Lima.
Thank you. Good morning.